All right. Act 4, Scene 1. We have the fool who encounters Sebastian and he mistakes him for Cesario. And then Andrew and Toby attack Sebastian. While they do that, the fool goes to grab Olivia, who declares her love. And this is this time to Sebastian, and he's totally excited. So Sebastian's walking through town. The fool comes up to him, starts talking to Sebastian like he had talked to Cesario. Now this is kind of like also odd for Sebastian because he's new to this country. He's only been here for a short period of time, maybe by like a couple of days, and he encounters a complete stranger who is having conversation with him as if they had known each other for a while. And you know, Andrew or Sebastian's not really sure or aware of what's going on, but he just deals with it and just moves along until Andrew, Toby, and Fabian come in. And Andrew marches right up to Sebastian and says, "Now, sir, have I met you again? There's for you." And he hits Sebastian. He strikes him. So Sebastian hits him back. And he says, "Why, there's for thee, and there, and there. Are all you people mad? Like, okay, first and foremost, I have this one stranger who just starts coming up to me, talking to me like they know all about me. And now I have this other dude who just comes up to me and hits me in the face. What is exactly going down? Like, what is happening?" So then Toby grabs Sebastian and he's trying to hold him. That way, Andrew can, I guess, beat him up. And then Sebastian instead kind he ends up pulling free from Toby and he draws a sword and he's ready to fight. Like, you want to fight? Let's have a fight. So then Toby ends up drawing his sword and then here comes Olivia and Olivia starts screaming, "Toby, don't hurt him. Don't hurt him." And Olivia like goes and she keeps referring to him as Cesario. "Be not offended, dear Cesario." Like, but what I find funny is the fact that like Sebastian doesn't ever really kind of notice that. He doesn't really respond back to her. He just kind of like lets her use the word or use the name Cesario. So I do find that to be funny. But Sebastian does keep saying, like, why am I think I must be going crazy because everybody is crazy here. And but he says at the same time, I mean, there's a really pretty girl that's like trying to, I guess, lay it out for me, like, want me to be with her. If this is a dream, I'll just keep sleeping. I can't believe this is real life. And they end up going away together. So then, Act 4, Scene 2, under the directions of Sir Toby, the fool dresses him or disguises himself as a priest and visits Malvolio. And his own person, the fool agrees to fetch pen, paper, and a candle for the supposed madman. So this scene is really sad because all it is just them taunting Malvolio. And they have Feste the fool go and dress up as the priest and go down there and pretty much torment Malvolio. It even shows on what's it? The fool is asking him, "Why are you so crazy?" Blah blah blah, and Malvolio's like, "I'm not crazy. I don't know what's going on." And then the fool ends up, kind of like just like, "I'm just gonna leave you here in the dark." And Malvolio starts yelling for him and really wants him to come back. And the fool ends up, coming back again, only this time to sing and drive him crazy. And that's just so sad to me. So the fool this is around line 76 and down, he is singing for Malvolio, and Malvolio just keeps trying to get his attention and get his attention, and he can't. And all Malvolio wants is here on line 85 is just a candle, pen, and ink and paper. He says, "As I am a gentleman, I will live to be thankful for thee for it." Like, please, if you just please get me this as just as a friend, as just someone who just look at me as a human being. Um, and he finally ultimately decides, okay, I'll go ahead and go get your pen and paper. But before he does that, he continues to sing again. Only this time, since Malvolio is also actually feeling like someone might be on his side, he's more apt to want to just deal with it. Then Act 4, Scene 3 is Sebastian, not really sure whether he or Olivia's insane, but he's kind of liking his new situation. And then Olivia asks him to enter into a formal betrothal with her, and he agrees. So he is talking about Olivia not really understanding what's going on. He says that this may be some error, but no madness. Yet doth this accident and flood of fortune so far exceed all instance, all discourse, that I am ready to distrust my eyes and wrangle with my reason that persuades me to any other trust but that I am mad. Or else the lady's mad. So he's like, should I even believe my eyes? Is this really what's happening? Did I just like kind of like walk into this country, having people act like they know me, one person smacking me, one person drawing a sword, wanting to battle me to a duel. Then I have this lady who is just like coming up to me and like confessing her love. And I've never met her before, but I mean, she checks off my boxes, so why not? So then Olivia comes in with the priest and she says, may live at peace. Let's see here. She says, plight me the full assurance of your faith that my most jealous and too doubtful soul may live at peace. He shall conceal it. Whiles you are willing, it shall come to note. What time we will our celebration keep according to my birth? What do you say? And Sebastian just says, you know what? Fine. You know what? I guess I could like you. We could like each other. This will work out. Yeah, sure. I'll marry you. So that's ultimately how that comes to fruition. It's just kind of like a kind of like a business deal in a way. Like he just he doesn't know her at all. But you know what? Fine. I'll marry you. No biggie. And then I'm just going to stick with this particular slide for Act 5, Scene 1, just because it's only the one scene. And this act is the, denouement of it all. We get the answers to every question. So I'm just going to jump into it instead of focusing on the synopsis. So we start off with Orsino, Viola, Curio, and the Lords. And Orsino is again asking about Lady Olivia. And he sees the fool, and he knows that the fool is kind of part of Olivia's court. So he's just going to find out a little bit of information about it. And, you know, the fool kind of tells him the way it is. And unfortunately, it's not what Orsino um, wants to, it's not so much what Orsino wants to hear. Um, but Viola ends up coming in and she mentions Antonio. And Orsino says, well, that face of his I do remember well, yet when I saw it last, it was besmeared, as black as Vulcan in the smoke of war, a bobbling vessel he was captain of. For shallow drought, for shallow drought and bulk unprizable, with which such scapeful grapple did he make, with the most noble bottom of our fleet, that very envy and the tongue of loss cried fame and honor on him. And the officer says, "Oh, well, it's Antonio, and he took the phoenix and her fraught from Candy, and this is that he did the tiger board when your young nephew Titus lost his leg. So here in the streets, desperate of shame and state and private brabble, did we apprehend him." So, basically, Antonio, this is him. He was responsible for your young nephew's loss of leg, and we found him in the streets, and he was desperate and of shame, and we got him. But Viola says, as Cesario says, he did me kindness, sir, drew on my side, but in conclusion put strange speech upon me. I know not what 'twas but distraction. So she's, well, he did help me out, but or see, maybe he doesn't deserve the most horrendous punishments, I guess. And Orsino goes back to knowing that he was just the saltwater thief. He did crimes against him, and because he did crimes against him, he's got to pay the price. And Antonio, at the same time, he doesn't really care at this point because he truly cares for Sebastian. And he, in this moment, thinks that Sebastian just kind of just forgotten all about him. He says right here on line 75, that most ungrateful boy there by your side, from the rude sea and great enraged and foamy mouth did I redeem. A rack past hope he was. His life I give him, and did thereto add my love without retention or restraint. All his in dedication. So he's saying, that ungrateful person right beside you, like, I saved his life and I did so out of just love. Like, I didn't do it for any reason that could really benefit me. It was all for his sake. Like, I did it all for his sake. And yet what does he do? He just completely turns his back on me when I need him most. And he says, he's talking about how Sebastian just denied him and denied even giving him his own money. And he said, which I had recommended to his use not half an hour before. And Viola says, well, how can this be? And Orsino looks to Antonio and says, well, when came he to this town? And Antonio says, well, today. And for 3 months before. Um, well, today, my lord, and for 3 months before, no interim, not a minute's vacancy. Both day and night did we keep company. So he's sitting there saying, well, today, because for 3 months it's just been me and him. So that's how we know that the shipwreck kind of occurred 3 months before. So this entire play is like taking place in a span of 3 months. And so that's quite a lot of time. And Orsino says, Orsino, as listening to Antonio, is suddenly interrupted because he sees Olivia, and he says, here comes the countess. Now heaven walks on earth. um but then he says, but he looks back to Antonio and he says, thy words are madness. 3 months this youth hath tended upon me, but more of that anon. So he's telling Antonio, well, that's impossible that he's been with you for 3 months, because he's been with me for 3 months. And Olivia says, well, what would my lord, but that he may not have, wherein Olivia may seem serviceable. Cesario, you do not keep promise with me. So she is wondering, like, Cesario, why are you not where you need to be? And and you need to be by my side because we are betrothed. And but Viola responds, madam. And Orsino says, well, gracious Olivia. And Olivia says, well, what do you say, Cesario? Good, my lord. And Viola says, well, my lord would speak, my duty hushes me. And Olivia says, well, if it ought to the old tune, my lord, it is as fat and fulsome to mine ear as howling after music. And Orsino says, still so cruel. And Olivia says, still so constant, lord. What, to perverseness, use uncivil lady, to whose ingrate and unauspicious altars my soul, the faithful's offerings, have breathed out, that ere devotion tendered? What shall I do? And Olivia says, even when it please my lord, that shall become him. So now Orsino's kind of like upset with her. He doesn't understand. Like, this whole play is a lot about people not understanding, because there were so many back dealings of everybody kind of having secrets. There were so many secrets throughout this play. And, you know, Orsino is talking to Olivia and just trying to figure out and understand what exactly she's talking about, and why Olivia keeps looking at Cesario in this way that, you know, is more than how a lady should turn to just a young page boy. And she says, Olivia says, oh, whoa, 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 sorry, jumped ahead. Olivia says, where goes Cesario? And Viola says, after him I love, more than I love these eyes, more than my life, more by all moors than I shall ever love wife. If I do fiend you witness above, punish my life for tainting of my love. Olivia says, I am me detested? How am I beguiled? Viola says, well, who does beguile you? Who does you wrong? And Olivia says, hast thou forgot thyself? Is it so long? So as Olivia's like trying to figure out where Cesario is going, Viola doesn't understand, like, well, why are you acting like this toward me? And Olivia says, well, did you not forget? Like, we're betrothed. So she says, go call forth the Holy Father. Obviously, the only way that you're going to believe that you're supposed to be with me is if the Holy Father comes and the priest comes and tells you or reminds you that you are betrothed to me. And Orsino is now not so happy. Um, He doesn't believe that, Olivia says, Cesario, husband, stay. And Orsino says, husband? And Olivia says, a husband. Can he that deny? And Viola says, well, not my lord, not I. And now Olivia thinks that Cesario has just, like, kind of, like, lied to her for the utmost part. Like, well, you did this and now you're denying it. And then here comes the priest. And the priest specifies a contract of eternal bond of life, confirmed by mutual joinder of hands, attested by the holy close of lips, strengthened by interchangement of rings and all the ceremony of this compact, sealed in my function by my testimony. So he says, I married you, so you're married to Olivia. So Orsino looks to Viola, and he is now angry because this is supposed to be the person that he had to go woo his lady love, and the person that he entrusted to do this job has totally stepped out and went after who he wanted him to woo for. And Viola is just standing there as Cesario saying, I'm not. Like, no, I didn't. It's not me. It's not me. And then here comes Andrew, and he enters in, and he's freaking out. And he says, for the love of God, a surgeon, send one presently to Sir Toby. And Olivia says, well, what's the matter? And Andrew says, has broke my head across, and has given Sir Toby a bloody coxcomb too. For the love of God, your health. I had rather than 40 pound I were at home. And she says, well, who's done this, Sir Andrew? And Andrew points out Cesario, and he says, it's him, Cesario. We took him for a coward, but he's the very devil incarnate. And Orsino's like, Cesario? Andrew says, yeah, you broke my head. And here comes poor Viola. She's like, I don't understand why you're looking at me and talking to me. She said, why do you speak to me? I never hurt you. You drew your sword upon me and without cause, but I bespake your fair and hurt you not. Like, we had our quarrel, sure, we both drew swords, but then we left. It's whatever. And Andrew says, well, if a bloody coxcomb be a hurt, then you have hurt me, you know. Um, and then here comes Toby and Feste the Fool. And Orsino's trying to understand, like, why do you think that it was Cesario? And Toby says, well, that's all one. He has hurt me. And they're both pointing out Cesario. And so we have, like, I imagine we have, like, this web of people just kind of pointing fingers and kind of, like, yelling at each other. Um, and Cesario just standing there completely confused and not understanding what's going on. But fortunately, all is about to be revealed. Toby, Andrew, the Fool, and Fabian all exit, and here comes Sebastian. And Sebastian says, I'm sorry, madam, I have hurt your kinsman, but had it been the brother of my blood, I must have done so no less with wit and safety. You throw a strange regard upon me, and by that I do perceive it hath offended you. So it's like, okay, sorry, I beat them up. Um, I didn't mean to, but it happened. And I'm so sorry for being late. And I'm so sorry for not being with you the way I needed to be. And Orsino takes one look and says, one face, one voice, one habit, and two persons. A natural perspective that is and is not. And then Sebastian looks over and sees Antonio, and he says, Antonio, my dear friend, I've been looking for you. I've been waiting for you. I don't know where you are. I didn't know where you were. And I'm so glad to see you. And Antonio says, Sebastian, are you? Like, is this you? Like, am I looking at you? And Sebastian's like, what are you talking about? And it's the back and forth between everybody looking at both Cesario and Sebastian, thinking about the way Cesario looks compared to Sebastian and how they look exactly alike. And it says here, Antonio says on 235, which is Sebastian? And Sebastian kind of looks over at Viola and says, do I stand there? I never had a brother, nor can there be a deity in my nature of here and everywhere. I had a sister whom the blind waves and surges have devoured. Of charity, what kin are you to me? What countryman? What name? What parentage? So Viola ends up, Sebastian, it's like, Viola's dead, and I don't have a brother, so why do you look like me? And he wants to know, like, where are you from? Who is, what's your name? Um, what is your lineage? And Viola states her lineage, or Viola as Cesario states the lineage, and Sebastian says, well, wait a minute. these are all matching up pretty good, and their father must be the same person, and you know the both of their fathers died at the same day and everything else. And then finally, Viola, around line 261, just lets it be known. She said, "But this is my masculine usurped attire. Do not embrace me till each circumstance of place, time, fortune do I cohere and jump. That I am Viola, which to confirm, I'll bring you to a captain in this town, where lie my maiden weeds, by those or by whose gentle help I was uh, served to serve this noble count, excuse me. All the occurrence of my fortune since hath been between this lady and this lord." So she admits, "Well, I'm not Cesario, I am Viola, and I'm sorry, but this is kind of what had to happen." And Orsino is looking to Olivia like, what in the world is happening? Like he said, "Be not amazed. Right noble is his blood. If this be so, as yet the glass seems true. I shall have share in this most happy wreck. Boy, thou hast said to me 1,000 times, though never shouldst love woman like to me." So Orsino's kind of dumbfounded. Olivia's dumbfounded. Viola is now Viola trying to explain everything. And Orsino ultimately looks at Cesario, who has admitted to be Viola, so it was you. You were the woman that you kept talking about who could love me. And Viola says, "Yes, you know, I am that woman." And then Orsino says, "Well, give me thy hand and let me see thee in thy woman's weeds." And she says, "Thy captain that did bring me first on shore hath my maid's garment. He upon some action is now in durance of Malvolio's suit, a gentleman and follower of my lady's." And so he says, "Well, the captain has my clothes. Um, I will have to go and fetch him. That way I can get the clothes." Um, and that's that. And then here comes Feste the Fool with a letter, and the letter is from Malvolio. And the fool basically states, he is basically kind of in a basement, kind of being held against his will. I gave him pen and paper. He was able to um, write, but technically he's banished. So, and Olivia tells him, open it and read it. And the letter goes in to talking about how he was wronged, and he was ultimately wronged by Olivia. He says, "By the Lord, madam, you wrong me, and the world shall know it. Though you have put me into darkness and given your drunken cousin rule over me, yet I have the benefit of my senses as well as your ladyship. I have your own letter that induced me to the semblance I put on, with which I doubt not, but I do myself much right or you much shame. Think of me as you please. I leave my duty a little unthought of and speak out of my injury." And he just says, "I wasn't mad. I just wanted to love you. Um, I was trying to do what you wanted me to do. Instead, you just completely like tossed me away, had them lock me up, and, you know, don't really appreciate it." And Olivia's basically like, this doesn't make sense. Just bring him to me because I need to talk to him. And Orsino is looking to Viola. And he says, "Your master quits you, and for your service done him so much against the metal of your sex, so far beneath your soft and tender breeding, and since you call me master for so long, here is my hand. You shall from this time be your master's mistress." So basically, Orsino is now loving Viola in a blink of an eye, which is is probably my favorite thing about this play, is how all of this stuff just kind of happens all at the very end, and it's all so quick, and nobody ever questions whether or not why anybody's mad, or nobody ever questions why somebody was betraying somebody else. Like there was never a feeling of betrayal, shockingly enough, and the 3 months of being lied to. But you know, instead, Orsino says, "All right, fine, Viola. We are to be together." And Olivia's like, "Yay! So excited. I'm with Sebastian and you are with Orsino. Everybody can live happily ever after." Until Malvolio comes in and he says, "Madam, you have done me wrong, notorious wrong." And Olivia doesn't understand why. She says, "Well, no, I haven't." And he says, "Yes, you have." And he hands her a paper, and on the paper he hands is, he says, "You must not deny it. It's in your hand. Write from it if you can and hand her phrase, saying that is the letter that you gave me." And she says, "Oh, this isn't my writing. Though I confess much like the character, but out of question 'tis Maria's hand. And now I do bethink me it was she first told me thou wast mad." So she's saying, "Well, I didn't write this letter. This is actually Maria's handwriting. And actually, if we really want to get down to brass tacks, Maria was the one who first told me that you were crazy, that you were kind of off your rocker." Um, so now everybody kind of has come up to the conclusion that Maria kind of did this. Like, she did this against Malvolio. And it says here around, 386, the letter at Sir Toby's great importance and recompense whereof he hath married her. So actually, Toby and Maria just took off and they ended up getting married. Um, so they took off. They're gone. They're married and together. Um, and Olivia's just, she's sorry. She's just sorry that that happened to Malvolio, and there's nothing that can be done, and you know, there's nothing that can be done. And then the fool, of course, Feste the fool, decides to start mocking Malvolio by repeating things that were in the letter, things that Malvolio told the priest, who was Feste the fool dressed as the priest. So he's just agging him on and really making Malvolio upset. And Malvolio says, "I'll be revenged on the whole pack of you." Like, Malvolio said, I'm going to seek revenge and I'm going to get all of you back. And Olivia just ends with, "Well, he hath been most notoriously abused." I mean, she admits it, you know. And then at the very end, Orsino looks, says, "Pursue him and entreat him to a peace. He hath not told us of the captain yet. When that is known and golden time convince, a solemn combination shall be made of our dear souls. Meantime, sweet sister, we will not part from hence. Cesario come, for so you shall be while you are man. But when in other habits you are seen, Orsino's mistress and his fancy's queen." So basically, Cesario was his friend, but as Viola, she will be his bride. And that is the end of the play. And this play, I love this play because it is such a roller coaster of emotion and it hits on so many different things. Like, it hits on disguise, betrayal, love, friendship, uh, villainy. Like, it hits so many different things. Um, I will say though that it's the happy ending is odd, but it is what it is. But that is it for the play.